Welcome to episode number 15 of From Ordinary to Extraordinary, where each and every week, right here, same time, same place, we explore the psychology and the strategies of ultimate performance, greatness, mastery, where you can experience an entire life and business turnaround by understanding, first and foremost, many of these psychological factors, and then, importantly, obviously, applying them as strategies into your life and business. So, before we get started today, let me just remind you, as always, if you have questions or comments, to post them down below. I'll do my best to answer some of those, at least real time, if we have an opportunity here today, if you need me to expand upon something. Also, this is episode number 15, so if you've missed some of the previous episodes, we've had a lot of content over the last 15 episodes. We've talked about how to live to be 100 years old, a lot of different things, and you can go, instead of scrolling through the Facebook feed, which could take an eternity, you can go to www.jamesray.com/live-cast, jamesray.com/live-cast, and we have them all archived there, and you can research them and dial in for your own viewing and learning and growing pleasure. So thanks for being here again, and I want to encourage you to share this if this makes a difference in your life, to share it with your tribe. I really appreciate many of you, Anthony and many others, who share this with their group on Facebook, because thereby you make an impact on the world as well. It doesn't really take that much to make a positive difference in the life of others. It just takes a commitment. And that's an interesting word, because I want to start off here today with the question. And I want you to really think about it before you answer. Are you willing? And do you have the courage to be truly committed? Now, before you answer, let me tell you what that means. Because a lot of people say, oh, sure, I'll be committed. James, I am committed. Well, let me tell you what that means, and then you check in with yourself and see if you meet this standard. To be truly committed, number one, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. Now, whatever it takes. Not just talk about it, but literally do it. And sometimes that means 7-day weeks. Sometimes that means 16-hour days. Sometimes that means every last dime that you have. That's whatever it takes. Sometimes it means letting go of some of the simple pleasures of your life because you're more committed to your purpose. I could go on, but are you really committed? Do you have the courage to, number one, do whatever it takes? And then if you say yes to that, then the second thing I'm going to ask you is, are you willing to do it for as long as it takes? Because the fact is that whatever you project it's going to take to fulfill your greatness, to achieve a level of mastery, to bring your genius to the world, I can promise you, to grow your business, to grow your income, to bring your new idea, your big idea to others, I can promise you it's going to take at least twice as long as you think it's going to take. And it's going to cost you at least twice as much as you think it's going to cost. And I'm sorry, I wish it were different. Believe me, I do. But that's just the way it is. And so, are you willing to do it for as long as it takes? Are you willing to give up some parts of your life to sacrifice for your purpose, for your cause? Because you see, there's always a price for the prize. And everyone has to sacrifice something. And I love the word sacrifice, because when you trace it back to its root, it means to make sacred. Think about that. There's always a sacrifice to bring your greatness, to achieve your outcome. And so are you willing to make those kind of sacrifices? Most people aren't. And that's why most people leave this lifetime with a tremendous amount of regret. Most people leave this lifetime thinking, I wish I would have, I could have, I should have. You know, psychologists tell us that the number one emotional experience of people in today's world is unfulfilled expectations. There's a lot I could go into behind that, and maybe we will at another time. It's not the purpose of today. But number one, do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. Number two, we're talking about, are you really committed? And number three, are you willing to do it for the joy of doing versus the joy of getting or achieving? You see, when someone tells me that they go into a certain arena because they think they can make money at it, I know that the chances are very high that they're not going to make money at it. And you say, well, James, no, that can't be true. Yeah, well, that's my experience. You know, and I've interviewed billionaires, and not one of them has ever told me they were pursuing the money. You know, Richard Branson said, I just do it because it's fun. You know, Sheldon Adelson told me when I had dinner with him, you know, find something that you love and become really great at it and then work really hard. Not one of them has ever said to me, and Mark Cuban says, you know, don't go into a business unless it's an obsession. And he continues, and by the way, if you have an exit strategy, it's not an obsession. I love that. So are you willing to do it for the joy of the doing? This is very Eastern, and it doesn't compute to a lot of us in the West, because most of us in the West do it for the getting. Well, I'm going to get this if I do this. I'm going to achieve this if I do this. Wrong strategy. Surefire strategy to end up in what I call the 71% club. 71% of the people surveyed are unhappy, disengaged, uninspired in their daily activities, in their work. So today is about challenges, even though we're talking about commitment. And let me tell you how this dovetails in. If you're not facing massive challenges right now, then you're probably not taking massive action. Let's let that one set in for a minute. You know, here's the thing. Don't wish for an easier life. That's illusion. You know, people right here on Facebook, or people out in the marketplace, or people that you talk to who are selling fast and easy. That's illusion. It doesn't happen fast and easy. You know, anything that is easy to get is easier to lose. Don't wish for an easier life. That's illusion. Wish instead for greater capacity and capability to get through the challenges life brings. Because those people who do great things in the world, they don't have easier lives. I mean that's you know, the mentality that's being sold to the masses. They don't have easier lives. They have more challenging and complex lives. Now please understand, when I say their lives are more complex, it's not the complexity of the traditional masses, the complexity, you know, of people who are dabbling in this and that and this and that and this and that, you know, mastering nothing, dabbling at everything, mastering nothing. You know, I had a conversation with a very talented young man just the other night, and he told me all these things that he was working within, and I said to him, you know, if you're going to do your one thing that you could potentially become masterful at, what would it be? It takes a lot of courage to choose your one thing. And so, you know, I said to you that those who are highly successful don't have easier lives. They have more complex life. It's not the complexity of dabbling. Let's make a distinction here. It's the complexity of handling a myriad of things that have to do with their one thing. Let me give you an example. You know, I've had a lot of experience running a multi-million-dollar company. I almost said billion. That's a big dream, right? A multi-million-dollar company. And I had 35 full-time employees, and I had lawyers on retainer, and I had accountants on retainer, and I had marketers on retainer. I mean, the complexity of the governmental issues, the IRS issues, the tax issues, the bills to pay, the employees to deal with, all those things were boggling. And then add to that the fact that I was the leader, the CEO of this company, while I was on the road over 200 days a year. So it wasn't like I was going into the office every day and dealing with those things. It was complex. It was difficult, even though I was doing my one thing. You with me on this? So it's not the complexity of a multitude of things. It's the complexity of pursuing your one thing to a level of mastery and giving it every single thing you have. You see, again, I've said this before, it bears repeating. Those who choose to become great in the world choose one thing. Because how many horses can you ride successfully at the same time? You can only ride one unless you're a circus act, maybe two, but you're not a circus act, right? And these rare breed that pick their one thing and they embrace the challenges and they're fully committed, move at Mach 10. And moving at Mach 10 and handling all the intricacies of business is no small task. When I was running a large corporation, many of my friends were telling me, my family was telling me, you work too hard. You need to find more balance, whatever the hell that means. I mean, even people who talk about balance are not balanced. If you read my book, Harmonic Wealth, I kind of blew that one out years ago. But they're well-meaning individuals. You work too hard. You need to slow down. You need to smell the roses. My response to them was, well, maybe I'm just fully inspired and committed. Because you see, when your work is your purpose and it's contribution centered, then there's no such thing as working too hard. You work hard, but it's hardly work. There's no such thing as working too hard. There's only living too little. And when your life and your living merge, you follow me? When your life and your work merge, then your work becomes your love manifest into the world. And so it's not like you need time off. It's not like you want to work really hard so you can do something fun. It's all the same thing. And that's my great wish for you, because life is too short. I mean, you've got to work like time is short, because it is. One of the greatest problems is that we think we have time. We don't. Time has you. And whether we like to address this, confront this, even think about this or not, the fact is your time is going to be up much more quickly than you want it to be. And so every single moment of every single day is vitally important, that you're squeezing the juice, that you're doing something meaningful, that you're bringing your unique purpose and genius to the world. I hope that makes sense for you. And be prepared that when you commit yourself fully and completely to your one thing, fully and completely. People who know me, when I go out to dinner, I talk about my one thing. When I am in, social settings, I talk about my one thing. Because that is the center of my life. And so that's my wish for you, because that's when things become magical. It really is. One of the greatest lies we've been sold is that the well-rounded person is the happy and fulfilled person. But science, research, studies prove that that's just not true. It's just not true. You are most happy. You are most fulfilled when you are going after something meaningful, when you're facing great challenges. That's what we're talking about here today. When you're embracing the challenges, when you're looking for the challenges. Because you see, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And you certainly won't grow. And so here, let me just tell you what to expect when you get to this point. Most people will not understand your passion and your obsession. They'll tell you to slow down. They'll tell you to smell the roses. They'll tell you to become balanced, whatever the hell that means. They'll tell you, to be more well-rounded, whatever. And they mean well, and they're good people. But the fact is, when they tell you that, then you can just know that they haven't yet found their unique purpose and their special place in this universe. Because when you find your unique purpose and your special place in this universe, you're home, right? You don't have to take days off, and I'm not saying you don't need to recuperate. Of course you do. Recuperation is key to running at Mach 10. And yet, it's not like you're looking for those holidays. It's not like you're looking for those vacations. It's not like you're looking forward to the weekend, because you're doing what you love to do. You're doing what you know you're here to do. So just take it as a sign. When people around you and people that love you are saying, hey, slow down, you work too hard, all those things that well-meaning people do, just take it as a sign that you might just well be onto something great. And that's a good thing. Because you're hardwired for greatness. We all are. Whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And the second thing I want you to realize, because it's so prevalent in today's social media world to talk about finding the magic bullet, the secret sauce, the get-rich-quick gimmick, is that you're never, ever, ever going to reach that place of perfect business and life nirvana where there are no challenges, there are no difficulties, there's nothing that you have to deal with, and you can just kick back and live on easy street. Because the fact is, the harder you work, the more you will work. The faster you travel, the faster you must run just to keep up. And so I'm going to encourage you to learn to love running fast. Because when you get used to moving at Mach 10, to go to 10 is boring. And that's why the research shows by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and many others that most people are just not that happy and fulfilled when they're on vacation. I mean, it may be okay for a couple of days. Have you ever experienced this? I know I have. For a couple of days, it's kind of nice to kick back and maybe do much of nothing and see some sights and have some nice food. But then you kind of start getting this little itch to do something productive and meaningful. And if you can't relate to that, then I'm going to submit to you that maybe you haven't yet found your unique purpose and place in this universe. Because when you find your unique purpose and place in this universe, you love the challenges. You love going after productivity. You love doing something meaningful and being productive every single day. So, take misunderstandings from others as a great sign that you're on the right path. And remember that you have to work like your time is short. And realize that someone or something, please put this in your notes, is going to take it all away sooner than you would like. You see, regardless of whether or not you think you own your business, or you own your home, or you own your bank account, you don't own anything. Every single thing you think you own is going to belong to someone else someday. At best, you're a temporary custodian. You've been gifted with this. You should get up every single morning and thank God, thank the universe. Hey, I get to use this house condo one more day. Hey, I get to use my bank account, even if it's small, one more day. I get to use the car one more day. Because it's not really mine, it's on loan to me from the universe, from God himself. And, I'm going to be grateful today that I have the ability to use it. I'm going to use it fully and completely because, you see, God's greatest gift to you is your unlimited potential. Your greatest gift back to God is to use it fully and completely every single day. Are you in that place yet? Most people aren't. If you're really, really honest, I asked one of my great teachers, Don Jose Luis, who was an Andean shaman of the descent of the Inca. I asked him once, Don Jose, how do you know when you're on the right path? And he said to me, Santiago, that's what he called me, Santiago, he said, you know you're on the right path when you don't feel prepared to take it. Did you get that? I said, wow, why is that, Don Jose? And he said, well, if you feel prepared to take it, you don't have to be open to the becoming. When you don't feel prepared to take it, you have to be open to the becoming. Eloquent, brilliant. What he was really saying is that, when you're on the right path, it's going to cause you to grow. It's going to cause you to stretch. It's going to cause great challenges, because if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And the number one objective is to growth, to the becoming, to becoming more. Becoming a bigger thinker, becoming a bigger action taker, to become a bigger feeler, a bigger open-hearted individual, a more compassionate being, to have more understanding, to have more awareness, have more awakening. And all those things happen as you get into the arena. They don't happen on the bench. They don't happen on the sidelines. They happen as you get into the arena. You have to be open to the becoming. You see, God wants your goals and intentions and outcomes to be way bigger than you feel prepared to accomplish. Why? Because that way, he, she, it has to be a part of them. You with me? So let me just recap real quickly here the three defining factors of whether or not you have the courage to truly be committed, to face the challenges life brings, to embrace those things and to grow through them. Number one, are you willing to do whatever it takes? Doing whatever it takes means that you must commit to mastery over your own comfort and convenience. You have to be willing to embrace things that are not your personal preferences. To be willing to do whatever it takes means to be willing to do whatever it takes, even if it sucks. Believe me, I know about that. Number two, you've got to be willing to do it for however long it takes. I had a woman come to me a couple years ago, and she said she wanted to work with me. And she wanted this big salary. And I said, well, here's what I will give you. I'll give you an apprenticeship. And it'll allow you to prove to me what you're capable of doing. And when you do it, then you can make a percentage of what you generate and create. And she said, well, I'll do that for a time. And I said to her, being in coach mode, I said, those who are committed to mastery do it until. And she said, until what? And I said, until they get the outcome. You want this big salary? Then you do what it takes until, for as long as it takes, until you get the outcome. And of course, she went her merry way because she wanted guarantees instead of a chance to become great. Let me remind you, doing it for as long as it takes, it will always take twice as long as you think it's going to take. It will always cost you twice as much, conservatively, as you think it's going to cost. And then finally, the only way to get through that really is to do for the sake of doing. Danny Way, arguably the greatest skateboarder of all time, the man jumped the Great Wall of China on a skateboard. That's nuts, right? And by the way, he had a broken ankle at the time. He pulled 4 Gs coming down the ramp. You know, just to give you a perspective, an astronaut pulls about 3 Gs, leaving Earth's gravity. Danny, and they're in a big suit and a full rocket ship. You know, Danny Way was standing on a skateboard, and he pulled 4 Gs coming down the ramp. He did a double spin and landed it, stuck his landing on the other side. You know, no one can touch Danny Way in that arena. And someone interviewed him once and said, you know, he wins all these trophies and all these awards and breaks all these records. And they said, Danny, do you always skate to win trophies? He said, I don't skate to win trophies. I never skate to win trophies. I skate to skate. You get that? Doing for the sake of doing. You know, Krishna, in one of the greatest books of all times, the Bhagavad Gita, out of the Hindu tradition, Krishna tells Arjuna on the edge of the battlefield, you know, we have the right to do our work, but we don't have the right to the fruits of our work. Now, again, that doesn't compute for most people in Western society, and I'm not saying that you won't get rewards. I'm not saying that you won't get fruits, but the greatest rewards and fruits you will get is the intrinsic, are the internal, intrinsic rewards that come from doing what you're here to do. Doing for the sake of doing. So, I want to thank you for being here. Again, encourage you to share this with those that you love and care about, those that need to hear about this, which I believe a lot of people need to hear about this, if not all of us need to hear about this, and you probably need to listen to it again and again and again. Because repetition is a second law of learning and transformation. Put your post down below. If you want clarifications, put them down below. And I guess no questions have come in, so we're going to roll it up here for this particular session. I hope I've given you some things to think about, as always. And I'll see you next week right here, same time, same place for episode 16. Until we speak again, stay awake, love life, and be epic.